do put a sign-up sheet out for Jason's bill. We will have a sign-up sheet out front for House Bill 301, because I understand there's a sub and some possible changes. Anybody that might want to speak to 301. 348, I don't think any changes on that, so we heard testimony on it last week. So, but anybody that would like to speak to 301 this morning, sign up.
Hi, bud.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman.
All right. Well, we have a quorum this morning, and it is 8 o'clock. We will go ahead and start. I'm going to ask Representative Mathis if he will open in prayer for us. Y'all bow with us.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Father, we thank you today. We just ask that you would give us wisdom in what we do and the decisions we made to be pleasing to your will. And Father, just help it be a benefit to the folks of the state of Georgia. In Christ's name, amen.
Thank you. All right, we have two bills on the agenda this morning, and like I said earlier, House Bill 301, there is I think it's a substitute and possible amendment, so we will, if anybody wants to speak to that one, they can sign up. But 348, we took testimony on last week, so we will just be ask the author to come forward and speak to that bill at this time. So I think Representative Chairman Collins was tied up and couldn't make it, and he's got a pinch hitter this morning. So we would ask Representative Vance if he will come to the podium and just go through the bill real quick. And the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chairman, I'll be glad to take it. Good morning, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. I'm Representative Ken Vance, standing in for Chairman Jay Collins on House Bill 348. Y'all had a hearing on this last week, I understand, and today I'm just requesting that we go through it one more time briefly, and that y'all support this and give a due pass to this bill. What House Bill 348 does is makes things more transparent. It defines school zones. That's a change from the current law. From 1,000 feet to existing master state orders or local ordinances. Some localities expand that area beyond, some decrease that area around school zones. But it defines it to go either by the master plan or what's the locals have made a school zone already. The sign, and this is important, this is a change, that a sign placed 500 feet before the enforcement takes place, saying that the speed limit is going to be lowered and the times that the enforcement of that will take place. It is generally 30 minutes before school starts, and then 30 minutes after school ends, with the understanding that those times between, say, school started at 7:30, the enforcement would start at 7, it would end at 8, and the mean time between school, that time and school letting out in the afternoon, there would not be any stationary sign enforcement of that, just like it is now, if that makes sense. The civil fine will go to the registered owner of the vehicle. It's $75 for the first offense and $125 for the second or subsequent offenses. A change in this, heretofore, I think, there was something attached to the title of the vehicle that is changed in this one to only affect the registration, to suspend the registration of the vehicle until the fees, the civil fees are paid. These are civil fees. They will not affect someone's insurance on their car. It's not a points thing, where points are added when you get a moving violation with a regular law enforcement citation. The same rules will apply for those school buses that have those mounted cameras that take pictures of folks who violate the bus laws, and when they're meeting them or passing them on the roadway, or when they're stopped to pick up or let off students. That is a very short version, folks, of what this 9-page law occurs, but most of it is law already. This just really redefines some things. So if you have any questions, I'll be glad to try to answer them.
We do have one, number 16, Representative Kennard.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Representative. Line 25, had a question. School zone defined in an existing master state order, and you're saying right now that is 500 feet?
No, sir, I'm not saying that.
Okay.
It could vary.
Okay.
It could vary. Most locals, prior to that, it was 1,000 feet for everything.
Okay.
Local school zones local municipalities and counties have master maps, and they can define that. It may be farther than 1,000 feet, it may be less than 1,000 feet, but the locals decide that locally.
Okay, so locals are making the decision about what a school zone is?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
You're a lot better at this than I am.
And on the signs, it's 500 feet prior to the school zone. Will they have flashing lights
Yes,
on them as well when
Yes.
the camera's in operation?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. They will have flashing yellow lights on them. Those signs have to be easily read from any lane that you're in and cannot be obstructed. So they have to be high enough, bold enough, if you will, with the yellow lights in order to have people read them, to know that 500 feet from now, speed limit's gonna change and the camera's gonna start taking your picture.
All right, number 29, Representative Ridley.
Thank you. Did you change anything in this bill about the school superintendent have to approve for the school cameras?
I did not read anything in this bill that said anything about the school superintendent. Now, it does do it in broad language, Mr. Ridley, Representative Ridley, that says the local governing authority has the authority to do that. I'm not in the assuming business.
You're speaking to line 99 in the bill, would that be correct?
Well, that's what
It's a
I'm.
local governing body of the
Correct.
county or municipality.
So right now, the school superintendent has to approve for that camera to be put up. Will this change any of that?
Yes. We can get a clarification from Ledge Council if you like.
It doesn't say it specifically in here, Representative Ridley,
Okay.
so I can't tell you yes or no,
Let's,
sir.
let's get clarification if our Ledge Council could weigh in.
It is gonna be the local governing body has to apply for the permit versus the school.
Okay. I'm not gonna be for your bill. Whenever we did this, the school superintendent has got control if they want that put there or not. And that's the way we need to keep it, because if we don't, we'll have every law enforcement agency sticking these things up. And if you'll stick around, I'll tell you why. Because I've got a bill to kind of fix that problem.
I understand.
Chairman Powell, good morning.
Good morning.
All right, do we have any other questions of the author? All right, what's the pleasure of the committee? This time, why don't they get a motion to table this bill? You got a motion to table and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor of tabling the bill, say aye. Aye. All right, the bill is tabled for today, all right? We do have one other bill on the calendar, House Bill 301, and we have a sign-up sheet. I think we've got some changes, and I'd ask the author of the bill if he will speak to the changes from last week. If you would, I think it'd be better.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, everybody. If you look, you should have a substitute, LC 393746S. And there was some changes. This is actually the one that I presented the other day, but in my great wisdom, I forgot to go over and get the copies of it. So what we done in the original bill, I can show you what changed real quick. If you look on, let's see here.
Line 18.
If you look on line 18, on the original bill, it had the $250 marked out for going around the bus down to $10, and that was my fault. We kind of had a little bit of North Georgia accent and with the Ledge Council there, and so we crossed that out. So, but it's still going to be $250 fine, but there's no other additional fees and penalties and charges shall be authorized, and that's going to be throughout this bill, because what we've had is, and I think everybody here has had calls from people that's getting fines. They pay the fine, a few weeks later, they're getting a bill in the mail from the camera company that's either as much or more than the fine is. I've got one that's $112 just in fees. Well, the law states that they can't charge over $25, but what they're doing numerous charges under $25. So we're going to clean that up, because I'm going to make a little amendment to the bill today, if that's okay. On line, if you look on line 33, we changed it. It did say $25 and no additional fees. It says $2 and no additional fees. And Mr. Chairman, at the proper time, I'd like to make a little amendment on that section right there.
Can you just tell me where did the $2 come from? What is that?
Well,
Is that standard?
Yeah, that's what I think the Peach Pass is, and that's the reason we did that. I don't mind going back to the $25. And especially after I put the little amendment in there that I'm wanting to put in there, I think it'll fix our problem. With them doing those additional charges and keep them under $25 is just a way to play the system, and I think a little amendment I want to make to this will fix that issue.
And on lines 30 and then lines 31, we lowered from 75 to 50,
Yes, sir.
125 to 100. I know in the previous bill those are still at the.
Yeah, I think that's if it's about safety and it's not really about the money, I think that's fair enough as a $50 fine and a $100 fine. I mean, especially in the current economic times that we're in, people really ain't got the money to pay these fines, and especially the fees that come along with them. So I thought that may help us all out a little bit to lower that.
All right. You said you had a amendment to the bill you'd like to.
Yes, sir. The first amendment I'd like to make on line 33, we could actually go back to $25, but what I want that to say is start on line 22 there where it says with electronic processing such civil monetary penalties which shall not exceed a total of $25.
Can you state that again?
So on line 33, it should say a total of $25, and no other additional fees, penalties, charges shall be authorized. So we're just gonna change that $2 to 25, but it's gonna say a total of $25.
Not to exceed a total of 25.
Yes, sir.
I might make a suggestion, Jenna's over here, she might can put that in simpler words, so that I think the rest of what you're trying to do in here is a $250 fine for passing a school bus with the arm out.
Yeah, it's still in there.
It stays in there, you're getting rid of all the surcharges and the fees that sometimes account for half or more as much, for all the little,
That'd be correct.
you're gonna go to straight $25, and for the camera company, you're going to go to $50 and $100 for subsequent offenses.
Yes, sir.
Not to exceed no other surcharges onto that.
That'd be correct. Not to exceed 25, a total of $25, but I'd like to put a little teeth in this. Cause I think the camera companies, if they do like what they've been doing, working the system, if they do charge over the $25, then I think that they ought to have to pay a $1,000 penalty to the state of Georgia for charging those.
Lynch, if we could get some,
That's fine, I'm just wondering, you don't want to clarify, based on, Chairman Powell's question, there is no $25 processing fee on the school bus one currently, and we're keeping it that way, correct?
Yeah, we're keeping that one the same.
Yeah, I think a total of 25 is fine.
okay.
Okay, so line 33 will read a total of shall not exceed a total of $25, and no other additional fees, penalties, charges shall be authorized. Is that
Okay.
all right? Then, like I said, I'd like to put some teeth in this for these camera companies that want to work the loopholes and put, if they do charge over that, then they're subject to up to a $1,000 fine.
I will again turn to our council.
Is that just for a violation of this fine section, or a violation of anything else, like the times, and
Yes, I'd say everything.
And do you, examples where this has been abused? I mean, I'm sure you.
Oh, yeah, well, like
And I
Chairman
missed
Powell
last
brought
week. I
up.
had to leave early last week. I didn't get to all the.
Sure. So what's happening is, like I said, some of the fees are being more than the fines are, or as much as the fine. It's coming 2 or 3 weeks later after they pay the bill. I got an email yesterday from Rome, Georgia, where they put up a new one there, and I think Representative Barton can attest to this issue. The guy, he's got the times down that he got a ticket. He tried to call. It went to somebody in Turkey. It went here, and he sat on the phone for 35 minutes. Never could get it resolved. Finally went ahead and paid it. Got another fine from the same company again, and he said that he's not running as fast. That is clocking, which that's another issue, because every time I ask the camera companies, I did get the list from Post of the approved radars, but every time I ask for the camera companies to give me what radars they're running, they always tell me they'll get back to me with that, and I still hadn't seen it yet. So they're supposed to be self-calibrating, but we won't get into that right now. But this just issue after issue of people getting them. He's getting them in the middle of the day, when all his is in the middle of the day that he's got, and he's got 3 or 4 of them, and he's tried to call and he can't never get a hold of anybody. The courts in Rome have tried to call the number, can't get a hold of anybody. So that's the issues that we're having. They're running all day long, not just during school hours.
Jenna, have you got language to, how do we need to do that?
Yeah, I mean, I could put a new N in and say something like, any agent or law enforcement agency, because they're also the ones issuing these, that violates any provision of this article shall be subject to a $1,000 fine.
That sounds good. That sounds good to me. How do we want to do that?
Well,
Mr. Chairman.
we've got some questions first, and then we'll get a motion on the bill and a motion on the amendment.
I got one more amendment too.
All right, let's get them all at one time, then we
Okay.
can make one motion.
One more amendment that I'd like to make to this, the counties and cities, the way I understand it, are subject to a 30% rule. 30% of their income can't come from fines. Somehow or another, these fines do not count, and I think they should. So I'd like to make sure that that's put in writing in these, that these fines do go toward the 30% rule. I'm making Jenna work over there this morning.
Did you write down what that was?
No, of course not. I just came up with it last night in my sleep. I thought it'd be a great idea.
While she's working on that, we do have a question. I like number
Okay.
16. We can go ahead and answer this.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Chairman Ridley. I'm in favor of capping the surcharges and the additional fees. What is the difference between the civil monetary penalties in Section 2 and then Section 1, the $250 and then the
Okay, so the $250 is the one where
That's
you
the
go
school
around the
bus.
school bus when it's got its arm open.
Right.
That's the $250 fine. That was already in there. I did strike it and put down $10 by accident. I got to hold the wrong one. And so, I mean, if you go around the school bus with the arm open, the lights flashing, I don't know that you really, I mean, I kind of think you need to be fined when the kid's
course.
getting off. So that's the difference in that Section 1. And then Section 2 down here, that's just for going through the camera zone, and getting a fine during school when they're supposed to have it running.
speeding.
Yes, sir.
Okay. You know, I fully support eliminating or capping the surcharges. I have a little bit of a problem reducing the civil penalty because I think this is serious for our.
Well, you know, I agree with you if they were running it the way they're running it. But the problem is you got people getting, I mean, like I said, the guy in Rome, he's got 3 tickets in the last 2 weeks from a new one that they put up. Is it calibrated right? We don't know. We can't even get a hold of anybody to find out. And like I said, I just reduced it to $25 just to kind of make it an even number. And I thought that was fair enough. I mean, if you get pulled over without a seatbelt, it's what, a $15 or a $25 fine. If you go through a school zone, then it's, you know, and you're speeding at 50 or 100. I mean, I think that 50 the first time, 100 the second. I just kind of thought that was fair enough. But if it's gentleman's will, then we can raise it back up. But
And I tend to be in agreement with Representative Kennard on that. It would be consistent then with
that'd be fine.
the bill we heard earlier.
Yeah, that'd be
to-
fine. So
amend it, leave those fines the same.
okay. So line 30, we're just gonna mark it. We're gonna leave it 75, and line 31, leave it 125. Then.
And does, now does Jenna have language
I mean,
that?
I can describe what it's gonna be. It has to add a whole new section to the bill, which is, if you guys authorize me to draft it as what.
For the
it's saying.
30% rule?
Yeah, so it's
Okay.
40-1411, subsection D, it's 35%, and there is a provision that says that these do not count.
Okay.
So we would strike that and clean it up to make sure that it does count towards that,
Okay.
35%.
I'd be fine with that.
Does that make sense to everybody? What we're doing? All right. But before we do, let's go ahead and make a motion on the amendments.
Okay.
Do we have a second? All right. We do have some discussion. I got some people who would like to speak to the bill that have signed up. All right. John, you want to come to the podium and state your name and who you're with?
Hey, I'm John Halliburton with the Georgia Independent Auto Dealer Association. We have about 3,000 used car dealer members across the state, the largest used car dealer association in the country. We support Representative Ridley's bill, and we strongly support Representative Collins' bill. The only part we really care about is the dealers and the lenders out there, is these school zone camera tickets. When someone gets a ticket and they don't pay it, it stays with the car, and then when that car gets traded in, the dealer is then left stuck with paying it, or the lender is left stuck with paying the unpaid ticket. So Representative Collins' bill addressed that by saying it no longer would follow the title transaction. It would just stay. It said that you couldn't renew a registration. What that did was it allowed the ticket to follow the individual essentially instead of following the car. We'd love to work with you on that going forward for the rest of the session, but we also support Representative Ridley's bill as well.
All right. Thank you. Any questions to John? Okay, we have Gabrielle Carter, ACCG.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Mr. Chair, fellow committee members, for the opportunity to speak. Again, my name is Gabriel Carter. I represent the Association of County Commissioners of Georgia, all 159 counties. Just with this bill, one of the concerns I wanted to raise before the committee was, I'll first just thank the author for reinstating those fines, not because counties are or want to make a profit off of this. We just, one, want to make sure our school zones are safe, and two, those fines help with public safety initiatives and making sure that we can keep our community safe. But second, just one of the concerns I wanted to raise was, based on my understanding of the bill, I haven't been able to see the substitute, but the elimination of those additional fees could potentially cripple this program because it wouldn't even be a sustainable business model for those private companies that operate these speed detection cameras. We don't want them to, we're not advocating for them to have record year profits, but they do need to be a sustainable business model because we've seen them to be effective in our communities in terms of keeping our school zones safe. So we don't have a specific dollar amount that we are advocating for those additional fees to be, but just want to put that before the committee for consideration. So thank you for your time.
Mr. Chairman, if I may,
Yes.
we put the fees back to what they currently were, $25.
Okay, well, thank
Just
you.
no additional fees after that. That was the intent of the bill to begin with, was $25 was the most that they could charge. And that's what we put it back at, but we just made sure we put it in writing that they couldn't charge any other fees than that.
Okay, perfect, thank you.
Number 16, we do have a question.
Thank you,
Mr.
Mr. Chair. This $25, is that going to satisfy the cost and keep them in business?
So I don't have the answer to that question. That would be a better question for that company, but we just want to make sure that they're able to still have a sustainable business model, so.
Could I answer Mr. Kennard, Representative Kennard's question?
Yes.
Representative, I would say it would, but let me give you an example. I don't think you were here the other day when I brought this. Vidalia, Georgia, from January of 21 to December 31st of 21, did $504,550 in fines. The camera company got $195,328 of that. So I think the $25 fine is paying for it.
I agree. I don't want to see them exploiting the process.
Right.
I think being able to keep them in business is important. As representative for the largest school district in the state, Gwinnett County, there was just some concerns that we make sure that our school safety and school zones are still
GMA?
protected.
Oh, I agree 100%.
Thank you.
Okay, we do have Butch. I'm going to let you pronounce your last name for me. Tell me who you're with.
Hi, my name is Butch Ayers. I'm the Executive
Okay.
Director for the Georgia Association of Chiefs of Police, and I appreciate Representative Ridley making the considerations on the bill and leaving the civil fines at the original thing. What I would like to say is that this system works. It has been proven effective, but we have a speeding problem in school zones and in roadways across the state of Georgia. And there are accidents that are occurring, not just in that half hour in the morning, not just in that half hour in the afternoon. There are accidents and incidents occurring all the time. I think one of the best things to do to make sure that we have a deterrent effect is to have a system that the citizens know is in place and is effective and can issue, take the picture, the cameras are not biased, and there is a system in place at the local police departments. If a person wants to contest a citation, civil fine, they can do so. And then the officer will come to the court, the municipal court, with their side, with the pictures, the photos, documentation, everything, just like you would have a regular speeding case. But nevertheless, the issue is there are definitely a speeding issue, and I think that's why you're seeing a lot of these high numbers. It's very easy. We could make these camera companies go broke tomorrow. That's just by everybody following the speed limit. And I appreciate the opportunity to come forward and speak with you today. I'd be glad to answer any questions.
I have a question.
Chairman Ridley.
Thank you. What percentage of the money per year does the police departments get off of this?
I'm not involved in any of the contracts. I'm not sure what they get, sir.
So, but it goes to the counties, correct? The money goes to the counties, and because one person got up, I think ACCG, and said that this money helps fund public safety.
I don't know the exact routing. I think it goes to the entity for public safety purposes.
Okay.
So I'm not sure exactly how that routing goes.
And I guess everybody's different, but I've had some cities and counties, sheriff's departments and police departments tell me that they don't get any of it. That's going straight in the general fund for the counties and cities. So that's the reason I was asking.
Maybe one of the other chiefs could answer that
Okay.
question, but I certainly don't know.
Okay, I didn't know if y'all had a rule.
We do have another question. Representative Alexander.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You mentioned about the speeding. Do you know if it is during school time or is it after hours that you're seeing most of the speed take place?
Well, you
The
know,
numbers.
the mere fact that, you know, I don't have all of those figures right here in front of me, but the fact of the matter is, if a citation is being generated by the system, there in fact is speeding occurring, and at plus 11 miles an hour or over. So if you have a school zone on a regular road that's 45 miles an hour during the school times, when the yellow lights are flashing, beginning of the day, end of the day, it's down to 35. And the camera systems give 10 and over. So during the rest of the day, when you have school buses coming in and out, parents dropping off kids, picking up kids, teachers going to and from, you know, there's more activity happening out of school than just in the morning, in the afternoon. That speed is calculated again at the higher rate. So a citation or a camera will not record a violation until they're, you know, 10 plus miles an hour over. So that's someone going 56 miles an hour in front of a school zone during the day. That's at 45 miles an hour.
Thank you.
I think your numbers, it's 45 during the day, it goes down 10 during school, correct?
No, it goes 10 miles an hour? No.
Under, like, if it's a 45 mile an hour zone, during the school hour, it goes to 35 hour.
Correct.
So 10 over, they'd be running 45.
Yeah, but I was talking about during the rest of the day. So during that, in the morning hours when the lights are flashing, the enforcement speed at the school zone is 35 miles an hour, which means the camera starts enforcing it at 45 plus.
Correct, but you said 56.
But I was talking about the remainder of that day. If you were running it like the law says you can run the camera system now, which is you have your morning session, kids going to school, the light stops flashing. But this camera system continues until after school, that afternoon session, to clock speeds at the normal 45 mile an hour rate speed limit, which means it's generating a photo at anybody going 45 or more. I'm sorry, 55 or more.
But you brought up an important fact. You said when the lights quit flashing, it keeps going. Before cameras, we always had a sign up with it flashing, and down below it on the bottom, it always said, you know, the school zone enforced when lights are flashing. Then it said from 7:30 to 8:30.
Correct.
Or from 2:30 to 3:30 down at the bottom. Well, that's what everybody's got used to because that's the way it's been all our life. Then we go put these cameras in, and they're running from 7 in the morning till 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon, but the lights aren't flashing.
But they're so, I understand exactly what you're saying, because that's when the children are crossing the street. That's when the majority of the buses are coming in and out. But I certainly do recognize that. But again, you know, are we incentivizing, or are we telling people they don't have to follow the speed limit during the majority of the day, only just during that school hours?
But
or school in the morning and the afternoon.
But you're pulling people over during the day on other roads if they're running over 10 miles an hour over, right? Not just in the school zone. If I'm coming through and I'm running 55 and then 45, you're going to pull me over on a regular road.
You know, that the law allows that, but again, you're talking about, you know, manpower restrictions, other calls pending, and things like that. You know, most departments in the state of Georgia are understaffed. But you know, I don't want to, you know, belabor the point, but I'm just saying, I think, you know, this system does have a deterrent effect. There are accidents, there are incidents that occur within a quarter mile of school zones. And it doesn't just happen during that half an hour in the morning and half an hour in the evening.
We've got a couple other people that want to speak to the bill.
right,
Billy
thank you.
Grogan?
My name's Billy Grogan. I'm the Chief of Police with the Dunwoody Police Department. I appreciate the authors changing the dollar amount in relative to the speed enforcement cameras in the school zones. So what these cameras are doing is they are holding people accountable for speeding during the time students are in school. So right now, the current law allows, I think, 1 hour before school starts to 1 hour after school ends. Because people do speed during the day just as much or even more sometimes than they do in that actual, you know, half-hour period before school starts and half-hour period as it ends. And the goal is to change people's behavior. And that's what we're seeing in some of the camera systems that have been installed for several years, particularly in Chamblee I'm familiar with, also in Alpharetta they have some installed. And so you may have higher fines at the beginning of the program, but as the years go on, those fines decrease because it's becoming effective. It's changing the behavior of the people who are traveling through the school zones. In relation to the question about percentages, I think most contracts or the city or county gets about 60-something%. I don't know exactly, 66, 67, something like that. And the vendor gets the rest for the cost of, there's no cost to the cities or counties to install the camera systems in their school zones. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
We do have a couple questions. Number 26, Chairman Weedow.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just actually, for the chair, I just want to make sure I'm clear because we keep going into the time. I know we got two bills that are very similar subject matters, but
That's right.
what we are currently debating is merely the fines and the structure in which they can collect fees,
That is correct.
not when times are or anything like that. So my questions
Yeah.
really are more
Yeah,
related to.
it does not affect the times in this bill.
Right. So, as far as, so I'll just ask the simple question so we can kind of get back to
Sure.
the fines and the fees. So the author's going back to the standard fees, which you support.
Yes, sir.
He is merely capping the overall fines and fees at $25. Do you support that?
Yes, I think the current
Okay.
law is $25. So, you know, adding total, you know, I don't have an issue with that. I think that's more than fair.
So,
So, yeah, I mean,
Mr. Chair, I just want to make sure we're all on the
You're
same.
clear. Yeah, this
Thank you.
doesn't affect the time in this bill. All right, number 16.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. You said the vendor gets 30%. 30% of what?
30-something% of the fines,
Of the civil fine?
yes.
Okay, so they're making money off the fines.
And the fee.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Number 23.
So are you saying that they get not only the 65-35, but you're saying that there's also a split on the electronic processing fee also?
I get-
So they can charge that up to $25 based on current law. Not all vendors charge that, but they can, and it's depending on the contract with the city or county.
Second question, please.
Yes.
All right, and I think you've answered the question about the split and where it goes. If it's the schools in the city, it goes into the city coffers, county goes into the county coffers. Now, I want you to address something for me.
Sure.
And that gets into the gist of some of this argument. And that's it, how much does the school system get? Because we have a lot of these cameras that can't be used because under the current law, I think it says that the school system has to sign off on it.
That's correct. The current law says the school system has to sign off on it. However, you know, they have no authority outside of the school grounds and the road. The cities and counties are responsible for that, and their police department, if they have one, is not responsible for speed
Right.
enforcement in the school zone. They don't get any of the money.
Senate, the school systems don't contribute to any part of this. They're just on there to sign off. Is it not true that we also have some of the school systems that will not allow a school zone camera
That's correct.
strictly because they're not getting their cut of the action?
I can't say exactly why they won't allow it. We've been given different reasons. Money has been one of the reasons, but there's been other reasons as well.
Could you tell me what other reasons it would be if it's not the money?
Well, I've been told that it would have a disparate impact in certain schools or certain children, which I find it hard to understand considering it's a camera, not a person making a decision. And there were concerns about the cameras taking a photo of a child that might happen to be walking down the street and the privacy issues related to that. That was some of the other concerns.
Number six.
I would add, there was a question about how the fines collected by the city and county are supposed to be used. According to the law, current law, is supposed to go for law enforcement purposes only, not into the general fund, based on what the law says.
Does yours do that?
We don't have a program because DeKalb County will not approve it. The school system won't approve it.
So y'all don't have one too?
We do not.
All right. Number 16, Representative Kennard.
Thank you. Last question, Mr. Chair. So if the vendors are making 30%, isn't that enough without adding an exorbitant additional fee on top of 30%?
It'd be hard for me to say because I don't know the cost of the system to install it and to maintain it, to keep it updated. There's a significant cost to that. So, but I don't know their profit margin.
Mr. Chairman, if I could give a little bit of back history on this bill to what Chairman Powell was talking about. If you remember when we passed this in 18, the school system had to approve the bill, or had to approve to put the camera out there. The money then went to the school system. Now, my friends at the county commissioners group here, ACCG and GMA, didn't agree with that, and they kind of fought against the bill because the school system was going to get the money. But that's the way the bill was passed. Somewhere in between there, it got switched to, now the counties are getting the money, but the school system still got to approve it, which I'm fine with. I don't think that law enforcement ought to be approving these things because they'll have them thrown up everywhere. But my point is this: these camera companies are getting 30% of the fine plus the fees. And I gave you just one instance, just Vidalia, Georgia's population is less than 10,000, what they generated. If this is really about the kids, and if it's really about safety, then the camera's doing its job, it's slowing people down and all that stuff. But let me just go ahead and just be 100% honest with you. It's not, it's about the money. They're gaining another $500,000 a year almost off a camera with nobody there to do anything, but the other problem is you have nobody to argue with. They'll tell you that you got a police officer that okays it. Well, tell me where that police officer was in Cherokee County when they caught 336 from 6 o'clock at night to 8 at night, and the guy approved every one of the bills, and everybody got their license suspended because you couldn't make a court date before the thing was due.
All right, we've got one other person who wants to speak to the bill, Demetrius Causer. We can state his name and who he's with.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, good morning. My name is Demetrius Calls. I'm a government relations associate and attorney at the Georgia Municipal Association. And just want to say that public safety is a paramount issue for all cities across Georgia. Maintaining public safety of those residents residing in, living in, and playing in our cities is almost foremost important issue of maintaining. So I just want to thank the committee and the author of this bill for restoring the fines to their original posture. Because that is a sufficient deterrent from folks speeding through school zones. And so with that, Mr. Chairman.
You have no issue with the bill as it's presently written?
Well, Mr. Chairman, there was a short concern around the provision in the bill which would cap cities to the 35% rule with the law enforcement agencies. However, I understand that provision is already in law and cities must abide by that provisions as well. And so it seems rationally related to this provision also. But we were very much so concerned with those lowering of fees, for instance, $250 to $10, which wouldn't serve a deterrent effect to keep folks from speeding through school zones.
All right, seeing no questions. Number 23.
He said that the 35% rule is not an issue here. So does this mean this falls in, and this probably need to direct this to Jenna, but under that 35% rule, does that include these school zone cameras as well as normal traffic stops.
That's the amendment. we're
No,
making.
no, sir, that's the amendment I
We're
made, is
making
to
a-
put
we're
it
making an
under there.
amendment to take that
Somehow or
in.
another, it slipped through the cracks.
But you're saying y'all do support that now?
What I'm saying is, Mr. Chairman, I appreciate that question. We understand that that is already a provision in law and other code sections within that original 35% rule speaks to the fact that cities are not supposed to be running these operations as a revenue funding source.
Right.
And we understand that. We will also want to be sure, and again, the paramount issue is public safety.
So you're saying y'all do support adding the 35% of the speed zone cameras the way it is in the other code section?
Well, I won't necessarily oppose that provision in the bill per se.
All right, we've had quite a bit of discussion. We have motion and second on the amendments. Do we have a motion on the bill? Give me we got a motion and a second on the bill. Now we're gonna vote on the amendments first. The bill amendments, do we have everybody in favor say aye?
Aye.
All opposed, like sign? All right, now we'll vote on the bill as amended. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Yeah, so we do have one other comment. Yes.
Are we raising the civil penalties back up from 50 to 75 and 100 to?
Yes,
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 sir.
that was,
Yes, sir.
we did, put those back like they were. And that'll be consistent with Chairman Collins' bills when we get to that, our next meeting. So we have no further items on the agenda. Thank you all, thank you for the attention. And we will have another meeting shortly this week, so stay tuned. Thank you. Meeting's adjourned.